The new U.S. Congress, elected into office last month, returns power of the House to the Republican Party, which has been critical over treatment of Israel by the Obama administration. Abiez Aluogalenter asked the NGO Monitor's Professor Gerald Steinberg if he believes that the issue will become a source of friction between Congress and the White House.
There has already been a fight, but it's going to get stronger now that the Republicans have taken the Senate. By having both houses of Congress, they can really veto, they can stop a lot of administration initiatives, or they can object to them. It's also very much playing out on Iran. Congress wants to see much tougher stands in terms of the negotiations with Iran, and the administration wants to see an agreement.
What kind of pressure do you see happening coming from the U.S. administration on Israel over the next 2 years?
The past is always prologue. We know the Obama administration's positions. It's actually going to be interesting. We have a new Secretary of Defense, Ashton Carter, assuming that he's approved, has very strong security ties with Israel. That's going to bring a different and important voice into the administration, stronger than Hagel's. On the other hand, if Kerry stays on as Secretary of State, Obama's clearly going to stay on as president. Those points of friction that we've seen for a long time on questions about Palestinian peace process, other issues are going to get sharper. The question is, how much does the president of the administration want to invest in more conflict with Israel? And obviously, what comes out of the Israeli elections? All those things are unknown until at least mid-March, and then we'll have a little bit of sense of where that might be going. But right now, I think the best bet is more friction.
The U.S. is considering harsher measures to protest settlements as opposed to just issuing statements of regret, and that every such move does not help the peace process. What's in the minds of the U.S. administration to do? What do they hope to accomplish?
All we've got right now is one leaked article, one memo that was leaked and was written about in Haaretz, and I'd be very careful about that. The article does say that the administration is considering, quoting a senior administration official, that there were discussions about increasing pressure and actually taking action against Israel every time there's what they call settlements in Jerusalem, which of course Israel does not consider to be settlements at all. And so if that is in fact true, there will be more friction on this. But I would be very cautious. I would suggest that perhaps this is one of those stories Haaretz likes to write, and other media, other journalists do the same thing. And that is to put a leaked story, which in fact is not a story at all. The leak in itself is part of the pressure. And it may not have any follow-up. We saw that recently in the case of the European Union, where there was a big article, and then the head of the European foreign policy, Ms. Mogherini from Italy, said, no, we're not planning any sanctions or actions against Israel. So I think we have to take all these things as part of the political game that goes on, including the internal Israeli game against Netanyahu as we lead up to elections.
You mentioned Europe. We're seeing a move across Europe in a number of different parliaments recognizing the state of Palestine. How is that going to play out for Israel in the international arena?
I look at this as sort of a virus, maybe that's too strong a term, but something that's catching from one country to the other, but doesn't have a real lot of substance. It's like a flu. It hurts, but it's going to go away in a couple of weeks or months. It's not something that has any real permanent or significance over the long term. Countries like France that say they're going to recognize the state of Palestine, but first we have to go through negotiations, an initiative in the UN and the EU to set dates. All of those things are really more, I would say, symbolic. It does increase the symbolic pressure on Israel to come up with an alternative, and I think that's something that has been lacking for quite a while. Even if it's not real, even if it's just a horizon that people that like to talk about these issues and really think there is a solution out there can focus on. You can't beat something with nothing. I think that's an old American baseball term. So this is another example of this strong cultural, social, political pressure in Europe, also in large parts of the United States, to have some sort of solution. So let's call it a Palestinian state, but it doesn't have any teeth to it. These resolutions don't have teeth to them. And in fact, in each case, those people who support it in most cases say, we really have no idea how to advance this. So we're just making a statement.
This week, a roundtable of the